Hey everyone, Kathy the Vegan Prepper here, and I just got a screaming deal on some strawberries, so we are spending a lovely Saturday afternoon preserving those. So primarily we're going to be dehydrating them. I'm going to show you how I dehydrate them, how I dehydrate the tops. It's all so simple, I almost feel like it doesn't need a video. And then I'm gonna go ahead and show you a strawberry top tea at the very end. And yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. Do-do-do, do-do-do-do. Vegan prepper, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, vegan prepper. Alright, so we have a local place here that sells wholesale produce, and every now and then they have organic things, and I just check periodically. It isn't always, but currently they've got these flats of organic strawberries. You get 8 pounds of organic strawberries for $7.90. So you know I had to get me some. So I'm going to go ahead and get a whole bunch of these dehydrated and just sort of show you exactly how we do that. Okay, so you start off with washed strawberries, and what I like to do is just basically slice off the top, and I purposefully leave some of the strawberry on the top. And then the tops go on the dehydrator tray, leaf side down, so that they're much easier to remove. And then when you slice your strawberries, you slice them at about 1/4 inch thick, so that they're also easier to remove. If you slice them too thin, they can stick really badly to the trays. And I just thought for fun, I could show you my jar. These are what I have left from last year from my strawberry tops. And so basically, honestly, a lot of times I will just dehydrate the tops and never dehydrate strawberries, but we have so many strawberries right now, I am dehydrating some. But these are just fantastic, like I said, for making into teas. And so honestly, this is kind of what ends up happening for me all throughout summer, or spring and summer over here, like when it's warm and we have nice, inexpensive strawberries. I'll have trays of strawberry tops going in my dehydrator pretty much all the time. I slice more strawberries, I add more tops to another tray, and then they just sort of cycle in and out. And my dehydrator runs pretty frequently between the strawberry tops and greens and produce and things I'm getting from the garden. But yeah, that's basically the gist of how you do the process of the dehydrating of the strawberries. Okay, so first off, like I said, we just sort of slice off a decent amount of the top, and that'll go on the top tray. And so now I'm going to come through and make roughly 1/4 inch slices, and then those end up just going onto the tray. And so that's sort of, wash, rinse, repeat. That's how you do it. Okay, so we got 9 pounds of the strawberries plus their tops into 12 trays on the Nesco dehydrator, and so the rest of it we are just going to go ahead and load up into the Excalibur. Okay, so it's been like a day and a half or so because it was a rather full dehydrator load, and some of the slices were a little thick, so they took longer. And so that's kind of the beauty of it, is you can't necessarily over dry something, so it's not going to hurt things to be in there a little longer. But I need to go ahead and empty those dehydrators, but I figured while I am doing that, I could go ahead and have some of the strawberry top tea brewing. So let me go ahead and show you how I'm going to make myself some yummy strawberry top and lemon balm tea. Okay, so I have my jar of tops, and then this is lemon balm from my garden, and some stevia leaf. So I love doing teas like this, especially stuff like this, which would normally have been food waste, and then stuff from my garden, because the tea ends up being practically free. And I really love that. But basically I have a quart-sized jar here, and just to keep in mind, it is a quart if it gets filled to the absolute top. So typically you're going to get something more like 3 to 3.5 cups of tea in one of these jars if you're using a jar like that. And then I have a cover, and so basically I'm going to be aiming for just a little over 3 tablespoons total of the tea plant matter in order to get myself a nice good tea, like a nice strong tea. I like for it to be strong and rich. And then for the stevia, that ends up, I don't count that in the rest of the tea. because the stevia is just there as a sweetener. And so for this size jar, usually for a quart or so, I end up putting in about 1 teaspoon of stevia leaf to brew with all of the other ingredients. And then the tea will end up being sweet when I decant it, and it's pretty fantastic. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to aim for about a tablespoon, and I don't know, like this is not an exact science by any means. These are a little older, so they're not snapping anymore, probably because they've gotten a bit of moisture from the air, and that's not, you know, a complete tragedy or whatever. They're not unsafe. They're still dehydrated. There's no moisture. But they are, like I said, just a little older. So I estimate one of these is probably roughly like a teaspoon-ish. And so how many have I put in? I've put in like 1, 2, 3, 4. So how about we'll do another kind of little one. And now, you know what? Let's do one more. Why not? So these actually still smell super fruity and good. Even though these are kind of older ones, they have an amazing smell to them still. And then for the lemon balm, this is where, like I said, I just sort of have to eyeball it. So that I'm assuming, let's kind of crumble it up and see. That feels like it's crumbling down to about half a tablespoon. So I store it whole so that it stays freshest longest. It makes it take up a lot more room in the pantry, which is kind of the one negative thing about storing it like that, is the space that it takes up. But I'm going to do a little extra, and then we'll go ahead and let this be our tea. I think that's going to be more than enough to give us some good flavor. So it's not an exact science. If I were using prepared herbs like this, see, like this is the stevia and it's prepared. And so it's very easy to get a little measuring spoon and do like a perfect, you know, measurement. If I were really concerned about the measurements, I would take these and I would crumble it into like a bowl and then use a spoon to measure it out. Like if I really needed to be precise, if I were doing this as some sort of protocol, like an herbal protocol for supporting my body in some sort of health endeavor, and I were wanting to be really precise with the dosage and the measurements, I would do it like that. But for this, you know, this is just sort of a yummy drink, and so I'm not going to be as concerned. But like I said, you're aiming for, usually you aim for about a tablespoon per cup of water. So I aim for just a little over 3 tablespoons in a jar like this, plus the stevia for the sweetening, which I don't count as part of the original measurement, like I already said. All right, we'll be back in about 30 or 40 minutes. Okay, now that the tea is brewing, it is time to go ahead and empty this dehydrator. There's 12 full trays of both tops and sliced strawberries. This smells incredible. I wish you could smell the dehydrator right now. It's just amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that and show you exactly what my process looks like. Okay, so basically I'm just going to go one tray at a time. Typically the tops are pretty easy because they just sort of fall off. And so those are really fast, and I just have a piece of parchment, or I use wax paper sometimes as well. And then basically as I go, I take it and put it into the jar. So it ends up actually being, you know, pretty easy, not difficult at all. And we just sort of go from there. But now the slices, yeah, some are gonna fall off, but I'm gonna have to pick most of these off by hand. So I guess I will get to it. But because we had the slices nice and thick, they're coming, or not thick, but like, you know, like 1/4 inch thick, they're coming off very easily. If you put them too thin, so even still see, look, like that was a 1/4 inch, and see how it dehydrates down to something much thinner. If you put it much thinner than that, it would just get stuck, and it wouldn't have it wouldn't have like enough structure left in the piece itself to come off. It would just basically just stick to the tray. So I'm going to go ahead and work on this. I know that this is not going to be entertaining to watch, but see, even though I'm having to do each one, it's not difficult. It's coming off pretty quickly. And once I'm finished with all of these trays, we will come back and see what the jars look like. Okay, so it's actually been a while since I've done this. I forgot this way is faster. Rather than having the tray up like this and doing each one individually, we just let the tray be flat and then kind of come in with both hands and just like pick off each one as you go around. It ends up being a lot faster. So I was remembering that like my muscle memory kicked in once I started doing the first few trays. It was like, oh yeah, this is way faster. So I thought I'd pop back on and show you. And then there you go. And I missed one. So boom, way faster than doing it the other way. Okay, so here are our results. We've got 9 pounds of sliced strawberries, makes a little less than 6 cups of dehydrated sliced strawberries plus about 1 quart of tops. Obviously you would probably have a little bit of variation depending on size and like how much you cut off with your tops and all of that stuff. But that is, I guess, maybe a ballpark figure so that you can know, you know, whether or not you have enough space. I feel like honestly, dehydrating has got to be the choice for anybody who has extremely limited space. This is an incredible way of preserving and putting up some food for long term. As far as I understand it, dehydration preserves virtually every nutrient that there is, with the exception of, say, vitamin C. Some people say that dehydration does preserve vitamin C, but it's my understanding that it doesn't, because vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin, and as soon as you remove the water, you basically remove the vitamin C. But as far as the other ones go, iron, calcium, vitamin A, vitamin, you know, other vitamins, many letters we can say, for vitamins, those remain intact for quite a long time. And so this is kind of what you're looking for. Now, the very next step is I have closed these off, I've sealed them. And so for the next couple of days, I'm going to be turning these around, like 2-3 days, turning these around and watching for condensation. And this is the step that's called conditioning, to make absolutely sure that there's no moisture left in the dehydrated product, so that you can feel safe sticking it on your shelf and knowing that now it's ready for long-term storage. If you should see condensation form inside the jar in the next 2-3 days, then you just simply stick everything back in the dehydrator, and it's not a big deal. But you just always want to make sure you do that step before you set stuff aside, because apparently there are horror stories of people pulling out their dehydrated goods and finding tons of mold because probably they didn't do that step. So just do that step and you will be set. So I would like to say one more thing, which I always say, which I haven't ever heard anybody else talk about, but when I'm doing the conditioning, I like mason jars because of the seal. However, a lot of times mason jars have kind of a mottled texture in the glass. And so you can see that here. I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but see how the ring light itself, like the reflection of the ring light, is very grainy. And so just note that when you're looking at your jar, that is like, look at what it looks like, because I can't tell you how many times I've been conditioning and I freak myself out because I'm like, oh no, condensation formed inside, but it's just the mottled texture of the jar. And like, if you reach in and swipe it with your finger, you can see that it's not condensation. But what I also like to do is to find a spot on the jar that's nice and clear. See how the reflection changes? It's a very like clear reflection now. So basically this whole section, but I just find a spot and then I draw a little square so that I know that that is a spot on the jar that is clear. And if I see something forming there, then it is a real concern. So just so you see again, like the difference here in the reflection versus down here where it's nice and clear. And so I basically also did that over here. And sometimes the spot is weird, like it's not always up at the top or whatever, but I just like to draw a window for myself on a clear part of the jar so that I know like this spot is clear. And if I see it not being clear, that's kind of when I need to worry. So that is basically all for the dehydrating bit. But let's go ahead and get into this tea and see what we've got, because it has been about 30 or 40 minutes. If you see here, we do have some rehydrated strawberry tops, but they've lost a lot of their pink, which means that nice strawberry flavor has gone into the tea. Now, if you want some sort of gorgeous aesthetic strawberry tea, you could throw in hibiscus leaves. Now, they will impart, you know, a tartness to the tea, but something like hibiscus, and I'm trying to remember if there are other herbs that will turn it pink, because who doesn't love a pink tea? It's like I said, beautiful and aesthetic. You could put enough hibiscus in to give just like a little color without flavoring it too strongly. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and strain some of this off and give a taste for you. All right, let's try not to make too big of a mess. I just realized I should probably do a little less in Sage's cup so it cools faster. All right. Oh my gosh, it smells amazing. This is absolutely beautiful, kind of golden color. Oh my gosh, I wish that you could enjoy this cup of tea with me. Oh my goodness. It's so good. Just like the fruitiness and the lemon balm, it's such a good combination. It's one of my favorites. I also really love strawberry tops and mint. If you would like more ideas about combinations for what could you put your strawberry tops into to make some really delicious teas, I would recommend just finding any kind of tea blend out there that has strawberry pieces in it and sort of looking at what is in those blends to get some ideas of what you could put in your own blends to create some absolutely delicious teas. I also really love rose. I don't have any rose right now. I haven't had rose in a while. And yeah, like rose hips, and anyway, it's just good. And even like elderberry, like any of those kind of fruity teas. But gosh, man, lemon balm and mint, I think, are my favorites, where I do about half strawberry tops, half mint, half strawberry tops, half lemon balm, and those turn out really delicious every time. And then just that tiny bit of stevia gives it the perfect sweetness, and yeah, I'm pretty happy. I wonder if it's cool enough and Sage could come do a taste test. But anyway, I'll wait for that to cool and then she can have some tea in a little bit. And anyway, I guess that's it. So hopefully that was helpful and you enjoyed that. And let me know in the comments down below, just anything you'd like to say. If you have any tips or tricks or questions, let me know. And as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful, especially with some strawberry top tea. And so I'll see you in the next one. Bye. All right, Sage, you want to try this yummy tea?
Yeah.
It's strawberries and lemon balm.
You
want to try it? Here, you want to hold it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not too hot.
It is warm.
It is warm, yeah. Do you like it? Yeah. Okay. Well, guess what? I like you.